Welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast with Scott Mackenzie. Scott is a passionate industry professional dedicated to transferring cutting-edge, industry-focused innovations and trends while highlighting the men and women who keep the world moving. So put on your hard hat, grab your work boots, and let's go.
All right, once again, welcome to Industrial Talk, you industrial juggernaut. Thank you very much for joining, and thank you for your continued support of the number one industrial-related podcast in the universe that celebrates you, industrial professionals all around the world. Yep, you're bold. Yep, you're brave. You dare greatly. You dare greatly, big time. You are changing lives, and you're changing the world each and every day. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for what you're doing. All right, in the hot seat, Dan Anderson, ReliabilityX. He's been on the Industrial Talk show a couple of times, in fact, and he knows asset management, reliability, and everything in between. He's also the chairman of the board of SMRP, the Society of Maintenance and Reliability Professionals. Yep, that's what the wheelbarrow is full of insights and wisdom when it comes to reliability and asset management. Let's get a cracking. Yeah, he's a delight. Can I say that? I'm not sure. Can I still hold on to my man card when I say he's a delight? But he is. He's a really a very nice gentleman. And boy, talk about insights. I'm not even close. Well, I never claim to be close. But the reality is that he really does. And he's passionate about reliability, asset management, maintenance, and helping companies with their best practices to achieve outstanding results. That's what he does. That's what Team ReliabilityX does. So there it is. They're all into it, man. All right. Before we get into the conversation, I have some house cleaning opportunities here. Events. One. I'm gonna pop out four. One is in January, and that's PowerGen, and I'm looking at my computer because I can. And I want to make sure that this is absolutely spot on. PowerGen. There is a topic of great interest, and that is all things power. How do we satisfy the demands of the market? PowerGen is the event for you. I will be broadcasting from that site. It is January 20th through the 22nd, San Antonio, Texas, and the location is the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center. You need to put that, or just go out to Industrial Talk and find the link and be a part of it. It's a great conference. There's some really cool solutions there. All right, the next one, which I'm very excited about, because why wouldn't I? This would be in February 3rd through the 5th. MD&M West is the event. And if you're in the world of manufacturing, which you are, I know you're listening out there, you're saying, that's me. Yes. If you're in the world of manufacturing, medtech, this is an incredible event, and I'm so honored to be there again. Rep and News and Brews. We're going to have, for the first time, a podcast on the floor. We have the studio for News and Brews, but now we're going to have a podcast on site at the location, and yours truly will be broadcasting from that event and having a great time, great conversations, and really sucking up the fun at that event. So put that on the calendar, of course, February 3rd to the 5th, Anaheim Convention Center. It's there. All right, number 3. This is Accelerate with Fluke Reliability. This event is March 9th through the 11th, and it is at the Hyatt Regency, Austin, Texas. This is one of my favorites. I love going to this user conference. They do it upright. Fluke Reliability, Accelerate, absolutely spectacular event. If you are in the world of asset management, maintenance, and reliability, I highly recommend that you go to this particular event. And they do it upright. So this is, of course, Austin, Texas, March 9th through the 11th. Now, this one This last one, you put your future hat on. Put your future cap on. And this is the Barcelona Cybersecurity Congress. I've had the wonderful honor to be able to broadcast from their shows. This is FIDA, Barcelona, the individual, the organization that's putting it on. And, yep, top notch. But boy, is there a topic. Let's say we got power. But there's got to be that cyber component. Let's say we have all these connected devices that are pulling in data and all that. Yes, there's that cyber component. There's cybersecurity going forward to achieve this digitalization dream that we are all, and AI, everything that's associated, that's impacting industry, cybersecurity. And it's not boring. It's not dry. It's really interesting, and kudos to everybody out there in the world of cybersecurity. Thank you for what you do. This event is a must attend. Yep, I said it. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be broadcasting. I want to talk to you. This is Barcelona Cybersecurity Congress, November 3rd. See, it's way off. You can put it in. You can find that budget money. November 3rd to the 5th, Barcelona. I'll have that link out there. They are great people. All right, let's get on with the conversation. I have more to talk about, but I want to get on the conversation. Here's Dan Anderson, ReliabilityX. We're talking about best practices when it comes to your reliability and your asset management efforts. He knows it. That's all I can say. He knows it. Here's Dan. Hey, Dan. Welcome back to Industrial Talk. You're a favorite of mine.
Oh, you're one of my favorites, Scott. Thank you for having me back.
Oh, always looking forward to this conversation. You're quite the gentleman.
Oh, you're the kind man. I had to dress up a little bit today, Scott. You put me to shame at the SMRP annual conference, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
You don't need to dress up.
I appreciate that. See, I appreciate that. You got to up your game. You got if industry has to do something, it has to up their fashion game. That's what I want. I want that.
Amen, brother.
I'm carrying the flag for that one. That's why I have this knitted shirt on with my hat.
You're always looking sharp, Scott.
Plus, it was in my closet and it was easy to get to.
Yeah.
Very, very little friction on getting to it. All right. 4-level setting. If you haven't checked out Dan's conversation in the past, check out Dan's conversation in the past so you know exactly who Dan is. Dan is the top-notch asset management reliability professional with ReliabilityX. And like I said, he's always a great conversation, a great individual that sheds incredible light on what you, as an asset management, maintenance, reliability professional, need to do. There he is. Dan, free of charge, right there. You're listening to it. You're learning, growing with me. Hi, Dan. Again, welcome.
Thank you, Scott. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, before we get into that, can you just sort of give us a little background again on who you are?
Yeah, certainly. So I currently serve as the Director of Business Development for a company, ReliabilityX. We are a maintenance, reliability, asset management consulting firm that provides, education services, assessment services, implementation services, a lot in manufacturing with a focus in food and pharma. I also serve as the chairman of the board of directors for SMRP, so the Society of Maintenance and Reliability Professionals.
Yeah, that's a great organization. If you haven't checked it out, we spoke at SMRP. We were on the floor, and I spoke to Dan, and he was great. There, see how quick I come to the point. I was like, he was great.
Scott, you're a fantastic resource there for the community, and everybody loves you. So really do appreciate
everybody's great there. It is such an easy gig, and when I say easy, it's everybody is so nice, everybody's so pleasant, and everybody wants to help everybody else. Everybody's a open book. It's a really good conference. Put that on your calendar for 2026 if you're listening to this. All right. Let's talk. We know about, we've had the conversation. And And I just, your form indicates that you want to talk about reliability and asset management best practices. Take us through that. That seems like a loaded question. It's a loaded topic. I don't know how you sit there and try to. I don't know. That's a big topic. Help us understand what you mean by that.
So if you're looking at different communities of practice, right? Historically, and I'll kind of generalize this a little bit. You've had the asset management community and then the maintenance and reliability community. And they've kind of functioned a little bit differently. We talked about this at the annual conference about how the asset management folks tend to be a little bit more white collar, and the maintenance and reliability folks tend to be a little bit more blue collar in nature. However, I think that they complement each other very well. And if you're bundling them all up into one, I understand that as well too. Because if you're not looking at the specific details, and I can explain those to you as well too, Scott.
Yeah, I was just going to say now. Yeah, that's what I want. I want to know that you've already sort of laid the foundation. You're saying there is some differences, but there is some synergies that exist between asset management and reliability. Take us through the subtle differences between those two.
Okay. Well, I will start off with asset management, right? And this comes from a background of learning the whole ISO 55000 and how that complements, the maintenance and reliability world. So if you look at it from that phase of it, you're thinking very high level with an organization. An organization to achieve ISO 55000, there's usually generally two things that you need. One is a policy, which is a very high level edict or document to your executive level decision makers within an organization. This is how I'm going to manage my assets within that organization. And that's the policy that's put together. And again, it's generally a one-page document that highlights that for folks. The next is a SAMP, or a strategic asset management plan. And this is developed through the middle part of the organization, the middle managers, the ones that are getting things done every day and really taking that high level vision or focus that comes from executive levels and driving it down throughout the organization. The strategic asset management plan, or the SAMP, is what's going to drive your asset management efforts. And again, a lot of times these seem very strategic in nature, and they are, right? So once you get to the level of engineers and technicians and folks out there within the organization that are actually out there, conducting the maintenance, making sure that production lines are up and running nonstop, then you start getting into the maintenance and reliability. So if you're looking at it from how do I divide the two from one another, asset management, in my opinion, are ones that, what are you focusing on from an executive level driven through the middle management? And then as you get into maintenance and reliability, those are the folks that are making it happen day to day, that are out there running the machines, making sure they're up and running, being proactive in the way that they're handling the maintenance on the machines. So that's kind of how I would distinguish the two, Scott.
What's interesting, and you brought it, and I was writing down. I was listening to you, but I was writing notes because I can only write notes when I look down. The term policy, and when we start talking about upper management and developing that policy layer, I'm a little jaded. Nobody really looks at that. Do they really look at that policy again? I created a policy. I wrote it, and then I put it in a 3-ring binder. Then I put it on the bookshelf. And there it sits, not to be opened again. Do they? Does that? Does somebody get in there and say a top-notch organization go and drive into there like, let's check out the policy?
I think the policy has to be very defined and to the point, right? So that's why you generally say, and this could deviate a little bit, but from what I've been trained in the policies that I've been a part of developing, they're very high level, right? This is how asset management is going to add value to my organization. And this is the approach I'm going to take. It's not a 500-page document for the policy. The policy is generally a one-pager, but it's very well thought out. It's almost like a vision for
Yeah.
your organization. When
Yeah.
you draft a vision for your organization,
Yeah.
those are generally a couple sentences long. They're not a whole thing that's going to get put to a binder and set away for years to come.
Okay. Because all I could think of it is like, hey, check that out. Check out that business plan that's sitting on that bookshelf that never gets touched again.
Yeah.
Because I believe in the world of asset management, in the world of reliability, just the nature of that profession is proactive. You're trying to make sure things are operating properly, as efficient as they possibly can, be proactive in identifying challenges before they become catastrophic, and conduct repairs accordingly. And that's a real push and active business model. So, all right. So we have a differentiation between asset management and reliability. Take us through, if I was an organization and I was talking to Dan, and I take us through some key components of best practices that I need as an organization to consider adopting.
Well, I think a lot, if we're talking about asset management and reliability, one of the most brightest guys I know, a gentleman who I worked with for a number of years, Bruce Wessner. He's at PGT Windows down in Florida. They're a storm window. And he had to go in, and I gave a presentation with him at IMC a couple of years ago. And he really talked about his approach in implementing best practices within the organization. And he took a little dabble of this. So he took a little dabble from ISO 55000 in development of a policy and a SAMP. So he got his executive leadership to understand the value of maintaining assets. He went through with his middle management and put together a strategic asset management plan. And he knew reliability inside and out because he had done it for organizations out there. And he knew the best practice metrics that went along with, having a planner in place, having good reliability engineering in place, starting to implement predictive maintenance technologies to forecast, when problems would happen. And he took a soup to nuts approach to where he started off in developing with the C-suite folks and developing that policy. But then as he went through and he, to justify the journey, right, not the race at the end of the day, to justify planners and justify getting REs in place and justify getting some of this new predictive maintenance in place, he created a business case. And that was going in and really taking a look and assessing the organization on how much were they spending in expediting parts? How much are they spending in overtime expenses, from lost downtime, from short start and stop times within a production line that were eating their lunch? And then taking that business case and saying, hey, this is how much we're losing. And you're telling me I can't afford to hire a planner right now? I'd say that we can't afford not to hire a planner. So it was real interesting to see that in the progression from education to really assessing where they were to implementing and justifying the cost to invest in reliability, maintenance and reliability.
How long did that process take? I'm just stunned. That's amazing. How long did he say? And this took fill in the blank.
He was still on the journey, right? So it's never like when people say, I need reliability, or my boss says, I want to get reliability tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you can make incremental changes that either, improve things, but in order to take a steps change, a lot of times without that, you really need to have the business case in mind and then put together a master plan. But to answer your question, Scott, you can start to see impact if you engage with an outside partner. Within the first 6 months, you start to see some traction. Within a year, you start to see, pretty good results. The ones that I've seen, move from reactive to world class, that takes years. And depending on where you stand in that, maturity scale, whether you're reactive or emerging maybe at some point in time, really determines how long that takes. But again, it's a journey. It's not a race. It's something you're continually doing and refining as people move out and move back in.
Yeah, and it has to be driven by the top. It
Yeah.
just does. If it's hard to take that strategy, that focus, and although it probably, might be embraced, but to do it from the bottom up versus the top down, very challenging. So it has to be at the top down. And Dan, I in effort to try to sustain it over a period of time, you mentioned it. Maybe in 1 year you'll see some improvement, but to truly sustain it again requires that effort up and top.
Yep. It's so important, Scott. I think that's really the foundational element of it, is management commitment being driven from the top down, and then plant partnerships. In the business of reliability, it's not a maintenance exclusively initiative. It's a partnership between maintenance and operations that's driven from the top down. And you could have all the awesome PDM, the best CMMS system in place. You can even do work management really well. But without those two foundational building blocks, it's very difficult to sustain. Very difficult.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've been in organizations where that edict comes down from the top. We want to be less reactive, more proactive, be more reliable, operational efficiencies, all of that. And it all makes sense. It's all great industrial jargon. But to sustain that is really, and don't you think that it's a human equation? All of this stuff is fine. All of this technology is great. It's wonderful. But it always gets down to that person. I don't care what it is. Always.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's a critical aspect too, Scott. I mean, if you go in and you're looking at, and the term change management sometimes gets thrown around with management of change, and those are two totally different things. The change management's addressing the people aspect when you come in and you do like a business process reengineering engagement to where you want it to be sustainable. You want the culture to change. You want people to understand that, hey, it's so much better for my cell phone not to be going off on the weekends and to me get called into a plant because of a critical piece of equipment's down, right? And in order to do that, you have to help an individual understand what's in it for me. At the end of the day, if I'm not getting compensated for doing something different, because change is so hard, that's really the hardest thing. And to take an organization from where a machine breaks down, we run out to fix it, and everybody celebrates because the machine is fixed, from the norm to I'm going to go out there and proactively replace that belt, or I'm going to go out and proactively lubricate that bearing and do it to the standards that are going to keep my machine up and running. That's difficult. That's very difficult.
Yeah, and you're asking an organization, if you do it right, you're asking an organization to sort of, for lack of a better term, be boring, be predictable, there's no sharp edges. Everything's like, we got it. It's all taken care of. And to change that culture, because we're a 40-year-old company, and we have Joe here who comes riding in on his horse to repair everything. He does a great job, but to change that, it's almost as if that mindset that everybody's so used to has to sort of retire, to bring in new thinking, new approaches, so that they're not being, saying, gosh, I'm getting all hopped up on goofballs because I get to repair this thing, in the middle of the night, and I get paid more money because I'm doing it. That type of stuff.
Yeah. But so you have to change the reward system a lot of times too, right?
You do.
So the
Yeah.
maintenance Tarzan who comes in and fixes it in the middle of a Friday night, they're not having a company picnic for that individual, but you're rewarding the group for being proactive and catching a problem before it happens and not rewarding the reactive behaviors at the end of the day. And that's just something that helps to sustain that.
So here is a challenge that I pose to you. So I'm an organization. I contact ReliabilityX and I say, I want to be world class. I want to do what is necessary to be world class. Come in, help me. And I'm going to spend that money. And I know that ReliabilityX, Dan, will do a great job at helping me achieve some real wins real quick because I've been doing it for 40 years. I have some inefficiencies, and I'm going to gain some value, and I'm going to spend that money. But over a period of time, I get better at it. I'm spending more. I'm spending money on my operations. How do you stop an organization from saying, we're really doing well, we're operationally efficient, we're doing everything well? Why are we spending this type of money in reliability and asset management? We're look at us. I'm the new CEO, and I see all of this money going out to this thing, but we're already efficient. We're world class. How do you sustain that?
I think the best organizations, Scott, recognize the need for reassessments and coming in. So initially, the approach that I've learned throughout the years is start with education. It's relatively low in cost. It helps to develop your workforce and understand that there are better ways out there because just like we were talking about a second ago, it all starts with the individual and the individual understanding this is a better way to do things. And this is how it's going to help my company and help me to grow within my company. So starting with a career progression, some education for that individual. And then as they move up, coming in and doing an assessment, which would involve development of a business case, maybe a loss analysis. That's something that we specialize in at ReliabilityX, and understanding that, hey, we're not just looking at downtime losses. We're looking at short start and stop times that are keeping you from making or selling 100% of your product that's out there. And then you get to the implementation phase where you're working with a group within the organization in a pilot area a lot of times to help them implement these new processes. But to answer your question and go back to that, Scott, the best organizations, the ones that hit world class and are humming at this, they're constantly understanding that, again, it's a journey. It's not a race. And you may be winning, but a lot of times that maturity level is going to slip back down as people turn over within the organization, as leadership changes, as priorities shift, and you got to get it back up to standard. So what I do at that time would just suggest, having, and again, you're not fully engaged with the third party, but somebody like ReliabilityX is coming in and teaching you how to fish. But it's good to get them come back in and re-energize the workforce and understand, okay, we've slipped off in this area, we can get better.
It's so amazing. You just identify how organizations, hopefully that it just keeps going up over a period. It dips, comes back. It's just, but the trajectory is always sort of at a positive slope of whatever that operational efficiency is, because you're absolutely right. With churn, with just movement of people, because it is such a people-centric profession. Yeah, you're. I got to tell you, I was at an organization one time, walking through, looking in cubicles. Not that I was eyeballing. I was just looking. I was walking by. Hey, what is that? Thermography, right? Sitting there in a cube. Stayed there in the cube. Was never used. They spent the money on the tool, but never used it. And it's just, it's hard not to be sort of that guy that said, oh, yeah, whatever. We've talked about being reliable or being asset centric. But do we execute? That's why organizations like yours are so vital, because that's what you do.
Yeah.
Is there real bottom line financial value in doing this or becoming world class?
Oh, so much, so much so. I mean, especially with organizations, Scott, that are in a sold out capacity situation.
What do you mean by
During
that? What do you
COVID,
mean by
I even
sold out?
had, well, let's say, COVID, right? Cleaning products where you couldn't get, wipes fast enough, or the
Yeah,
whole toilet paper situation, right?
never understood that.
So they were in a sold out situation nonstop. There are organizations right now in the food industry that, you can't sell enough of your products, can't sell enough soft drinks or beers or frozen dinners. It's all dependent on the marketing. Pharma business right now. Look at this whole, craze when it comes to
Wow.
the diet insulins and such. They
Wow.
can't make it fast enough
Wow.
to get it out the door and fill demand. So when you
Wow.
run into organizations like that, and one little minute of downtime costs them, hundreds of thousands of dollars, that's where the rubber really meets the road. And that's where, if you can squeeze out just that little bit of additional capacity, you're getting it back in return, because you're selling it for, I don't know, with the insulins nowadays, I guess they're going for almost 20, 30 times what it costs the manufacturer, maybe even more.
Yeah,
You know?
I don't know. My body's a temple there. Yeah, I don't need. It's a temple. I don't know.
Yes, sir. I know.
See, that's a great analogy. That's a great word picture that you just painted there. Because you're right. If I'm sold out, if I'm at 100% capacity, and I'm moving everything I can, that's a great problem to have, right? That is, but you don't want to have a burp snarl to knock you
No,
down. You don't.
exactly.
Huh. How do you my last question, how do you take a company that is selling all of that, they're moving fast, I'm sure their hair is on fire, it wouldn't, I don't have hair, so it wouldn't be on fire, but if they had hair, they'd be on fire. How do you go in and try to change that, say, hey, we can help you be better? I bet to get their attention when they're just running and gunning, that's got to be challenging.
Yeah. It is challenging. It is challenging. But if you're talking to an executive level person who wants to squeeze every dollar they can out the business, and they understand it, one of the hard parts, Scott, is running into executives nowadays that don't come from a sales and marketing background, right? Ones that have worked in manufacturing and maybe even engineering and maintenance. And so they understand this. They understand that keeping
Yeah.
that machine running versus just, hey, I'm selling enough. My site is producing enough. Why do I need to worry about it?
Yeah.
But if you can really help them to create a vision, and that vision just entails the dollars and cents that are going to add to the bottom line, that's how you would position that with somebody at that level. Now, if you're working with, somebody who's a reliability engineer or a planner, starting off with that education and helping them to understand, and then they come into class, they go, this is great stuff. This is really good. How do I do this at my facility? You say, well, you put out a program for them to go and articulate a business case back to management. There's a lot of online assessment tools. ReliabilityX provides an assessment tool that you can go out there and look at the maturity within your organization, but then doing a loss analysis on a production line to really show the quantitative benefits of it long-term, real-time results.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. It's easy to say, what happens if this line goes down for 1 hour? And I have the history to say that this line has gone down 5 times, which equates to X dollars. It's not a difficult I'm sure I'm oversimplifying it, but it can be done. It's all there.
Yep. And it can.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, just there's a lot of tools out there. And I think in particular, when we do an assessment. We like to conduct a loss analysis, which helps to quantify, that lost downtime. And it's not just because a cylinder might have been missing and that's why this line was down for 4 hours. It's quantifying all those short and stop times, those little adjustments that maintenance makes when they come out to a production line to get it center lined or back up and running. Those in the long term mess up the asset pretty good. So you're just trying to get all those adjustments in place, trying to help leadership understand that there's a better way of doing things in a more proactive manner.
You're a doctor. You're an asset management doctor. You're just sitting there. Call Dan, get him out here. Our patient is not feeling really well. Let's figure out how we can make this patient feel better. Doctor.
Amen.
Hey, how do people get a hold of you, Dan?
You could reach out to me. I'm very active on LinkedIn, Dan Anderson, with ReliabilityX. You could reach out to me via email, dan.anderson@reliabilityx.com, or just give me a call, 843-693-2538.
Look at that. There's no excuse not to get a hold of Dan. Right there, he's got everything. And I'll have all of Dan's contact information out on Industrial Talk. You'll find him. He's that good. Reach out to him. Put that on your to-do list. You will not be disappointed. Dan, you were fantastic.
Thank you, Scott. Always a pleasure, sir.
Always. Absolutely. All right, we're going to wrap it up on the other side. Stay tuned. We will be right back.
You're listening to the Industrial Talk Podcast Network.
Dan is the man. I had to do that. And I have to do this. Mr. Anderson. I had to do that too. Don't blame me that those are out there. But anyway, how about that for a conversation? Dan knows his stuff. Reach out to him. All the contact information will be out on Industrial Talk, as well as follow those wonderful people at ReliabilityX. It's a stable full of incredible professionals. They really are. And they're passionate about your success, really passionate. They're always fun to have a conversation with. All right, Industrial Talk is here. We have more podcasts that are coming out. We have one that's called Ask Molly, and it's all things about marketing and sales. From her perspective, she knows that too. And as well as the Business Beatitudes podcast, that's about the heart, about industry, the heart. Check them out. We've got more coming. Be bold, be brave, dare greatly. Hang out with Dan and change the world. We're going to have another conversation shortly, so stay tuned.